Hello and welcome to yet another episode of EM Recap, the show where we discuss news that made waves across India's northeast. In the past episodes, we discussed some of the important stories from this region that took place throughout the week. But this episode is special. Since this is the final episode of the year, we are going to revisit some of the biggest stories that made waves across the northeastern region in 2023. But before we move forward, I want to request you to subscribe to EastMojo. Remember, your support will help keep EastMojo the way we have always been, independent and unbiased. The biggest event, or rather the biggest tragedy of this year has to be the Manipur violence. Even after 8 months, the state still continues to cover much of its headlines, or at least our headlines. The ethnic conflict between the Kuki and Meitei communities over the past few months has resulted in over 200 deaths and left nearly 60,000 people homeless. It all began on May 3 when we started getting reports that there were attempts to burn down the Anglo-Kuki War Centenary Gate at Churachandpur. This was after a rally was organized by the All Tribal Students Union of Manipur to oppose the demand of the state's majority Meitei community to be included in the scheduled tribe category. The protesters included the Kukis, one of the larger tribal communities in Manipur. Later in the day, we started getting reports of violence in the border areas of Churachandpur and Bishnupur districts, and within no time, the violence spread like wildfire. By evening, mobs were running riot across the state, forcing hundreds of people from both the communities to leave everything behind and move to safer locations. Many were able to find shelter, but there were also people who were caught in the crossfire. Manipur had turned into a battlefield. Civilians, including women and children, were killed. Houses were burned down to ashes, shops looted, and those at the shelter camps were at the mercy of security forces. This continued for months and the situation still remains tense. Over the months, protests broke out not just in Manipur, but the ripples were also seen in New Delhi. The past few months also saw several leaders from various political parties visit Manipur, be it the leaders of the opposition or from the ruling BJP, including Amit Shah. But one person remained missing throughout the violence, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So far, he only mentioned Manipur twice. Once during a press conference after a video of tribal women being paraded naked surfaced online, and the second time was during his Independence Day speech where he mentioned that the situation in Manipur was getting back to normal. Also, we have not seen any effort being made at the political level to bring leaders and representatives of social organizations from both communities to talks. As per investigation is concerned, according to the latest data, the Central Bureau of Investigation has so far registered 27 cases handed over to it by the state police, of which 19 are of crimes against women, 3 related to armory loot by a mob, 2 of murder and 1 each of rioting and murder, kidnapping and general criminal conspiracy. The agency has registered these cases but has not made the details public because of the sensitive nature of the situation prevailing in the state. The only respite the family members of the victims received was when 64 bodies, including 4 from Churachandpur and 60 from Imphal, were airlifted by Indian Air Force helicopters and then handed over to the next of kin on December 14. This was after the Supreme Court on December 1 ordered the Manipur government to bury the unidentified and unclaimed bodies of individuals killed during the violence by December 11. With no visible effort being made by the state or the centre to restore peace in Manipur, leading a normal life in the state still remains a far-fetched dream. 2023 brought one of the worst disasters Sikkim had ever faced. On the intervening night of October 3 and October 4, the bank of South Lonak Lake, a glacial lake in the upper reaches of Sikkim, burst following a sudden cloudburst. This sent fast-moving torrents of water surging down the Tista River in Sikkim's Lachen Valley, raising water levels 50 to 20 feet higher than normal. Severe damage was reported in all downstream areas of the river, including Mangan, Dikchu, Singtam and Rangpo. Road links to Gangtok were cut off because sections of National Highway 10 were washed away, leaving several locals and tourists stranded for days. Rescue operations involving the Indian Army, Indian Air Force, Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, National Disaster Response Force authorities and even locals continued for weeks. An army camp along the Tista River bank, which was accommodating 23 soldiers, was washed away. As per the latest reports, the bodies of 10 of the 23 army personnel were recovered, but a lot of arm and ammunition was also washed away during the flood, and there is no information available about how much of it was recovered. That is not all though. The crisis also raised several questions about the current and previous governments. Turns out, experts had already warned the state about the risk of glacial lake outburst flood and had recommended that the glacier should be monitored effectively. Glaciologists at the Divecha Center of Climate Change of the Indian Institute of Science had mentioned that a large chunk of ice may have fallen from the glacier into the lake, creating waves that toppled the moraine dam. Chungthang Dam, also known as the Tista 3 Dam and part of a major hydropower project in the state, was also washed away during the floods. The destruction of the dam also raised several alarms. Turns out it took 15 years of corruption and several violations of norms, and the previous state government, in the name of promoting hydropower, made several questionable decisions while awarding the project to independent power producers. Our latest Decoded episode discusses this issue in details, so please do give it a watch. The past year also saw the Arunachal Pradesh Public Service Commission getting entangled in a cash for jobs scam. Protests broke out in Arunachal Pradesh's Itanagar on February 17, injuring at least 10 people and causing severe destruction of public property. This was during the Bandh called by the Pan Arunachal Joint Steering Committee to press for the fulfillment of the 13-point charter of demands. The state cabinet then decided to call off the swearing-in ceremony of the new APPSC chairman and members. For the next 2 days, Itanagar came to a complete standstill. However, on February 19, the government bowed down to public pressure and agreed to the 13 demands of the steering committee. Now, let me give you a flashback of what led to the protest. The chairs and membership of the chairman and the 3 members Arunachal Pradesh Public Service Commission fell vacant in October 2022 after the resignation of the previous officials from their respective role. The decision to step down was prompted by the exposure of a question paper leak. The incident came to light after Gyamar Padang, a candidate of the APPSC Assistant Engineer Civil Examination himself, filed a police complaint before the Itanagar police station on August 29, claiming that he suspected that the examination paper had been leaked. The PAJSC has been demanding that the government declare all the recruitment examinations conducted by the APPSC null and void, wherever question papers were allegedly leaked. The arrest of former APPSC chairman Nipo Nabam, an enforcement director, and court-monitored probe into the APPSC fiasco, among others. Fast forward to December, the APPSC finally got a new body on December 13 after Governor K.T. Patnaik administered the oath of office and secrecy to 2 newly appointed members of the Arunachal Pradesh Public Service Commission, retired Colonel Koj Tari and Rosie Taba, at the Darbar Hall of the Raj Bhavan. However, the newly appointed APPSC chairman, Professor Pradeep Lingfa, and the other member, Dr. Ashan Reddy, are yet to take the oath, as they have requested some time before they assume charge of the Public Service Commission. The APPSC comprises a chairman and 4 members as per the APPSC Regulations 1988 as amended from time to time. These appointments are slotted for a term of 6 years from the date of assuming office or until reaching the age of 62 years as per the provisions of Clause 2 of Article 316 of the Constitution of India. 2023 has been the year of elections for the Northeast. The past year saw 4 states, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura, going to the polls. But before discussing Mizoram, let us first focus on Meghalaya. Conrad Sangma's National People's Party, despite emerging as the single largest party, it remained unclear for days that who will form the government in the state. But the suspense ended on March 5 evening after 2 regional parties, the United Democratic Party and the People's Democratic Front, with 13 seats between them, extended support to NPP. 3 other MLAs, 1 independent and 2 MLAs of the Hill State People's Democratic Party also extended support to Conrad Sangma, which took NPP's tally to 35 of the 60-member assembly. The National People's Party, despite the string of corruption allegations, managed to do better in 2023 than the previous election and took up its tally to 25. The Bharatiya Janata Party, along with its regional allies, retained power in Tripura and Nagaland. In Tripura, the BJP outmatched its national rival Congress in the polls. However, this year's poll saw the emergence of a new party, the Tipra Motha, to become the main opposition party of the state. While the BJP, along with its ally IPFT, attained 33 seats in the 60-member assembly. The election in Nagaland turned out to be quite predictable and saw BJP alliance partner NDPP coming to power once again. The state, however, made history as it elected its first women MLAs in the form of Hekani Jakhalu from Dimapur 3 and Salutuno Kruse from Western Angami constituency. Mizoram also went to polls in 2023, and on December 4, the state, for the first time in history, elected a chief minister other than Lalthan Haula or Zoramthanga. The Zoram People's Movement managed to capture 27 seats, surpassing the halfway mark in the 40-member assembly. Mizoram's political landscape has been dominated by the Congress and the Mizo National Front since it attained full statehood in 1987. Zoramthanga of the MNF became chief minister after the 1998 assembly polls, ending Congress's 10-year rule. The MNF governed for a decade until Congress won in 2008 and 2013, but in 2018 the MNF returned to power. This was also the year when most members of the ZPM contested the elections, but all of them had to contest as independent candidates as ZPM was not registered as a political party till then. We have been saying this since the day ZPM came to power. Winning the election was easy, and there are bigger challenges that the party will have to face in the days to come. We spoke about them in this episode of Decoded, link to which is in the description. This brings us to the end of this episode of EM Recap and also the end of 2023. We will be back next week with another roundup. Until then, on behalf of the EastMojo family, I wish you all a very happy new year. Thank you for watching.